Okay, so in the first course of the specialization, we introduced this block diagram or flowchart for regression, as well as a bunch of other machine learning tasks, but I just want to walk through this again. So we're going to assume that we have some training data. Okay, so all of a sudden I've said the word training data, and I hadn't said that to this point. That's a topic we discussed at a very high level in the first course of the specialization, and we're going to discuss the concept of training data, test data, validation sets, lots of other ideas about assessing, fitting our models and assessing our fits, and choosing between models and all these different topics. We're going to discuss that in this course. But for right now, if you don't know what it means to have training data, go back to the first course of the specialization, watch that video, or look it up online. For now, I'm going to assume that you know that we have some training data and we're using our training data to fit our a specific model. Okay, and for the rest of this module, that's going to suffice. We're only looking at training data, and all the other discussion about validation sets, test sets, and everything like this, choosing between models, assessing the fit of the models, that's going to come later in this course. Okay, so when I talk about data in the rest of this module, I'm assuming we're talking about just our training data set, that we've already done some split and we have our training data. Okay, I think I've said enough on that. So we have our training data, and in this case, that's going to be some table of house ID, house square feet, and then the house sales price. And we have this big table of all of these quantities. And then what we're going to do is extract some features. So maybe actually at this point, instead of specifically saying house square feet, I can just say that there's some set of house attributes. We might have things in addition to square feet. And so one step we're going to have to do is figure out what input we're going to use for our regression model. We're going to talk about more general features later in the course, but for now we're just assuming a simple setup where we're going to choose one of our house attributes, call that the input to this regression model, and work from there. So we've talked about using square feet as our selected input. And then we're going to use our machine learning model, which is regression, to predict our house sales prices. So y hat represents our predicted house sales price. And how are we predicting it? Well, based on some estimated line or curve. So this is our f hat is our estimated function that's fit from our data set, or specifically our training data set. And how are we going to determine f hat? How are we going to estimate this function? Well, first we're going to need to describe some quality metric that says, I should describe what y is. I already mentioned this earlier, but let's write it down explicitly. This is the sales price, the actual sales price of our houses. And we're going to compare the actual sales price to our predicted sales price using any given f hat. We're going to say, how well did we do? And that's what the quality metric is. So there's going to be some error in our predicted values. And the machine learning algorithm we're going to use to fit these regression models is going to try to minimize that error. So it's going to search over all these functions to reduce the error in these predicted values. Okay, so this is our overall flow chart, and we're going to walk through the various components of this throughout this module and in more depth in the rest of this course.